contact high is a very real thing. There's no question that I had experience with Sasha, without telling me one morning many years ago, had taken a new level of a new drug. I was busy washing dishes and realized that my reality had shifted. And since I hadn't taken anything at all, I couldn't quite understand that, but I thought it was rather interesting. I wondered how long it would last. And of course, again, when you haven't taken a drug, it's scary. You wonder, am I launching into something that'll be the rest of my life? But this was okay, and after a while I mentioned it to Sasha that I was turning on, not very intensely, but and I couldn't quite understand why. And he said, well, it happens, I took something this morning, and do you suppose it could be a contact high? Oh, you betcha it was. And so, from my contact high, I was able to tell him when he began to drop. It was absolutely on the... it was amazing, because I think you have to undergo that once before you realize it's not just a phrase. It really is an experience. Okay.
I have a question about Rupert Sheldrake's morphogenetic fields and the effects of new substances. It seems like some people in modern urban settings who take ayahuasca see Amazonian imagery. And it seems as if substances accrue, in addition to their neurochemical effect, a morphic field or morphogenetic field of these prior users of the substance. So it's not a clean slate. And I noticed that when I took MDMA when it was first briefly legal in the 80s, it seemed far more powerful. And other people who took it at that time, it was far more powerful as well. Now, I know the quality may have declined, but I often wondered if its morphogenetic field became corrupted and diminished as it became used in very unworthy ways as a party drug and this type of thing. And if a person taking a substance that has a completely clean slate, a tabula rasa, is in a privileged position and may even kind of help to define that substance for future users in their initial experiences.
Well, first of all, I'm going to answer this one.
And why don't you repeat the heart of the question?
Oh. Unfortunately, I have to apologize. I'm recovering from getting thoroughly stoned last night for the first time. It was a really delightful experience. It was the first time in well over 6 months, because Sasha's had serious heart problems and finally had surgery. And so last night was the first time we both turned on in a very long time. But anyway...
2CB Fly, if anyone's interested in this.
Never mind that. The MDMA thing, I would suggest to you, repeating the question, does the experience of other people who have used the drug that you are using, do you pick that up? The ayahuasca experience, quite often people do have a jungle, South American jungle kind of experience, and they see South American animals. I'm not too sure about that. I would suggest that those people have heard or read something about ayahuasca, and they have some idea of where it comes from. And that this is what we call suggestion. And, you know, if you don't have a preference about what you're going to encounter, why not have a jaguar experience? You know, hold a second. The MDMA, however, is something else. When you use MDMA, more often, I would say more often than 4 times a year, you begin to notice that the experience is beginning to drop down.
Losing its magic.
It's losing its magic. And the college kids who were using it, you know, about once a month or even more often, found out within a year that they couldn't get that magic back. And some people have decided to go off MDMA completely for a year or more and see if the old magical experience returns. And for some people it does. For me, I used MDMA once a week for an entire year and did my writing of Pical on that. That was my writing material. And at that time we didn't realize this about the overuse of MDMA. And I still cannot get anything out of taking MDMA. I've kind of burned that one out. So I always warn people, first of all, make sure you have MDMA, not something else, and take it no more often than 4 times a year maximum. Now what was... Yeah.
I have a question about the interface between ethnobody and nutrition. And what I'm interested in right now is using neurotransmitter-rich plants with MAO inhibitors. So I'm curious, maybe Sasha can comment on the activity of, say, something like a serotonin-rich plant or a melatonin-rich plant and how we'll interact with native carbonates. If you took a melatonin-rich wild cherry, mix that with a passion flower with native carbonate, you bioaccumulate melatonin the way you could with something like psilocybin or DMT.
If I understand the question, you are speaking about compounds, plants that contain neurotransmitters.
Right, plants like, say, wild cherry is a good example of being a melatonin-rich plant. And I'm curious if it interacts with native carbonate the same way something like DMT does, being that they're based on the same molecule.
Generally, the neurotransmitter is the vehicle for getting the compounds, the psychedelic compound, into the brain and into its functional role in the brain. The serotonin itself is not an active component. It is a neurotransmitter factor. And I think in a lot of these cases, the neurotransmitter is assigned a role in the activity of the compound, but not an active component of the compound. So the best I can think is that the serotonin or the neurotransmitter-like components akin to serotonin are there to allow the classification of the compound in a family of neurotransmitters, a vehicle for expressing the activity of the compound, but not actually a contributor to the activity of the compound. It's kind of a way, somewhat avoiding the question, but the thing is, the efforts to relate neurotransmitters to the actual activity of psychedelics is a difficult one to maintain.
Okay, there's a lady right, yeah. Speak as loudly as you possibly can. Can I boil it down to would use of MDMA help with PTSD or post-traumatic stress? I'm sorry, say that again.
Been diagnosed with that. Yeah, things that you don't think you have.
Would it be helpful if the pharmaceutical industry and the military allowed MDMA to be used with soldiers?
The question was, how can we get the military, the pharmaceutical industry,